about puppies because lots of customers come into the shop for the first time and are like, I've got a new puppy, what do you recommend? And I'm like, well, have you got all day to talk about this? So this video is going to be about socialization mainly, and fear periods, because I feel like it's something that's really important, and it's one of those things that's not tricky, but like you've got kind of, I see it as there are two main viewpoints on socializing puppies, because you go to the vet for their initial vaccinations and they're not fully protected until after their last vaccination, which happens, that period of time is prime socialization time. Around that time, like, I don't know, 6 to 16 weeks or something. I'm a little rusty on my numbers but somewhere around there's prime socialization time for puppies. But it also happens to be the time that they're not fully vaccinated, so your vet will say, don't take them anywhere, they're not fully protected yet, blah blah blah, until after they're, say 10 to 14 days after their last vaccination, then you can go bananas. But then, they're past their prime socialization time. So, but then if you speak to professional dog trainers, for example, or behaviorists or whatever, they'll be like, you have to socialize your puppy in that time. You have to. It's so important. And it is, because poor socialization can lead to all kinds of behavior issues later in life. That if anyone with a dog with behavioral problems will know, it can affect your whole life massively. It can be really hard to have a dog with anxiety or separation anxiety or reactivity or whatever, and some of these behaviors can be because of what happened when they were a puppy. So how can you socialize your dog whilst they're not vaccinated? And this is, again, and I say this all the time with so many different things, but it's basically about choosing the level of risk that you're comfortable with. After the first and second vaccinations, your dog will have some protection, but not full protection. If we were in Alice Springs, like I used to be, I'd be like, yeah, don't take your puppy anywhere because they will get parvo. Like, it ain't worth it. But in Melbourne, of course you still have to use caution to protect your puppy, but I think the risk is a lot lower for them contracting diseases like parvo, viruses like parvo. But anyway, so keep in mind that you do need to be cautious and you do need to be safe, but you can still do things with your puppy at that time that will help with socialization. So you can still put them in the car and go for drives and make it a really positive situation. You can pop the window down a little bit so they can sniff out the window. They get used to being in the car. They're going to experience lots of different sights and sounds driving around. You can, if you're keeping them up off the ground, you can take them, maybe to a local dog-friendly cafe and have them meet different kinds of people. It's basically about creating positive experiences in that time, so they have these really nice associations with all different things. I recommend going online and Googling like puppy socialization checklists. There's a million of them, some that are very extensive if you really want to get into it. Print that list off and have it at home and make it your aim every day to tick a couple of things off that list. And it can be like, it can be things that you wouldn't think about, that you're like, why would I do that? That doesn't make any sense. Like, say for example, exposing them to the vacuum and the noises that it makes and how a vacuum runs across the floor, or setting up different textural surfaces for them to walk on. And that seems stupid, but if you do all those things and they have a really positive experience, they walk on, really smooth surfaces or cold tiles, or walking over scrunched up newspaper, all these different things that create sensory experiences and noises and smells, all those different things. It's just giving your puppy experiences so that when things happen to them that they've never experienced before, they don't go, holy shit, and get completely terrified. So So yeah, it's just about creating experiences, them having really positive experiences, and there's lots of things you can do around the home, and that's not putting them at risk of getting diseases or picking up things. You know, don't take your puppy to the dog park, for goodness sake. But yeah, get yourself a socialization checklist, and while your puppy is not fully vaccinated, try to do as much as you can, as safely as you can, to still socialize your puppy. You know, have people come to your house. Like, it's important that they meet all kinds of people, and that seems stupid as well, but like, have them meet tall men and kids, and be around a baby. You know, just every single new experience that they can have, and have a positive time, is going to benefit them to be, I guess, equipped to deal with the big wide world, and all the things in it that can happen. The other thing to be mindful of when doing this, and also just with puppies in general, and I've been seeing this a lot lately, like dogs come into the shop, puppies come into the shop when they're a bit older, they might be 4, 5, 6 months or whatever, and they're like really scared or get a fright or something like that, or the owners are like, they're never like this, they're so friendly, they're so outgoing, but they've just been so weird. And often it's about fear periods. I shared a thing on Facebook about when the different fear periods can happen, and this is another really important aspect, because at the same time as you're trying to socialize your puppy, they might be having this fear period. And a fear period is when they're super sensitive to things, and things can happen in these fear periods that can again set them up for life to have these fears, or you know, it might be something that we wouldn't think is scary, but if it happens in a fear period where they're very hypersensitive to stimulus, it could terrify them to the point of causing trauma around whatever that thing might have been, and they might react in a negative way for the rest of their life to a similar thing. And that might be, you know, someone slams a door and it gives them a really big fright, or you know, a delivery driver is delivering a package and you know, is wearing high vis or something, and you know, an interaction between them causes them to get a fright and is scared, and then for the rest of their life they'll associate these kind of prompts, for lack of a better word, to react. So in the fear periods, you do have to be really careful to not overwhelm them, and you always want to be watching your dog and their behavior, and like I said, creating positive experiences. And if they're not having a positive experience, don't force it. Look at their body language and the different things that, if you don't know about the signs to look for, like do a bit of research and reading about dog body language and the signs that they do when they're nervous, like lip licking, whale eyes, sniffing the ground, looking away. I mean, there's really obvious ones like cowering, tail between the legs, and like freezing, but those are next level. Like, look for the subtle signs that happen before that, so you can stop what's happening when they're just starting to get nervous. If they're at the point where they're frozen and they're, you know, hunched down with their tail in between their legs and the massive whale eye, they're already really scared. It's too late. So you're in control of the experience for your dog, and you're in control of advocating for your dog. If they are scared or they are nervous, like, stop that situation for them. And that might mean saying to someone, I'm so sorry, they're a little bit nervous, I'm not gonna, I don't want you to pat them right now. You know, if a kid's coming up and getting in their face, that can be really full on.